We do have our very own Jackie Mattia from Movable Inc., who's going to be speaking with Nick Carvunis from Turbotax on not only scaling personalization, but scaling personalization at lightning speed. So guys, please welcome Jackie and Nick.
Welcome to Scaling Personalization at Lightning Speed with Turbotax. I'm Jackie Mattia, Movable Inc. Strategy VP for the media and tech industry, and I'm so happy to be joined today by Nick Carvunis from Turbotax. Turbotax is one of our most innovative software and technology clients. Nick, welcome.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having us.
Awesome. Well, to kick us off, tell us a little bit more about your role and about Turbotax, although I'm sure we have tons of users in the room today.
Yeah, I hope so. Hi, everyone. Nick with Turbotax. I've been with Turbotax for about 3 years. Prior to that, I came from the travel and tourism industry, where I marketed casinos. And the reason I tell you this is because in the casino industry, our whole job in marketing is to take people's money. And so it's really nice to move over to Turbotax, where our goal is all about prosperity and putting money back into customers' pockets. And so 3 years now, I've worked with an amazing team. My specific team that I work on is post-auth, where we drive customers from the top of the funnel all the way down to the finish line. So our goal is to get customers to finish and file their taxes.
Well, before we get into the content, quick icebreaker to the audience. How many people have already filed their taxes this year? Interesting fact, I didn't know this before talking to you, Nick, but some people actually don't file till June. It sounds like most people here probably already got your refunds. Maybe you splurged on some of those pink outfits that we're seeing today. But this is actually your second year on stage at Think Summit, and we had to get you back this year because what you and your team have done in the past 12 months, I think addresses two of the most important topics that I regularly speak with clients about that we'll touch on today. So the first is using personalization to mitigate customer challenges, and then also scaling personalization quickly so that you can speed up the time to value for your company. I think some of the best examples of personalization to me are one where you're really solving hard problems for customers. And also, you've scaled Movable Inc. across your entire CRM journey this past year.
Yeah, it's been exciting. Second real full year using Movable Inc. Last year, we just started out using Movable Inc. in our automation programs, which is really what I focused on. And it was great to use Movable Inc. for that use case because we could move quickly when we're working with a lot of automations. And so last year, I think we built maybe 10 personalized modules in Movable Inc. This year, with the entire team using it, we've scaled it to 40. I think we're maybe approaching 50 at this point. Personalized modules for all of the customer journey from top of funnel to post-auth to the year-round engagement team. So it's been exciting to see that change, that evolution.
Well, I think I told you, I've been at Movable Inc. for about 6 years, and I can genuinely say you're the first client that I've seen increase their Movable Inc. use cases by 4x within just a year. So excited to share with the audience how you did that today. So what are the most common challenges that customers face that your marketing program addresses?
Well, taxes are not fun. I'm sure everybody would agree. They're just not fun to do. We try to make it fun at Turbotax. We try to make it easy. I would say the three things that we focus on first is building confidence. You know, taxes are not easy, and when you have life changes, like if you move to a new neighborhood, new house, new state, you have a child, you change jobs, you start investing in cryptocurrency, building the confidence that Turbotax has the expertise to handle all of those situations really makes it our goal so that it's easier for the customer to move through their tax journey and file their taxes each year. So building confidence is number one. The second, I would say, is simplifying the complexity of taxes. Again, with all those life changes, with all the government regulations that change on a yearly basis, you're waiting for Congress to pass a new law or revoke an old law, that makes it a little scary for customers and very complex. And so if we can simplify it by using Movable Inc., we can distill it down to really bite-sized content, next step, single action type of content. We can take that complexity and make it simple, and it makes it an easier experience for the customer. And then the third, I would say, is definitely velocity. Velocity for our team, but also speed for our customer. We've learned that from our analytics that customers that move quickly and get their taxes finished within the first week or 14 days have a much higher propensity to finish their taxes. And so the longer we wait or the longer it takes us to get them engaged, the less chance we have to have them finished by April 15th. So by using Movable Inc., number one, we're moving them faster because we can personalize and make it easier for them to file. But the second, from the back end, from an efficiency standpoint, we can optimize our process. Our CRM team can go into Movable Ink and build all of those complex business rules quickly and easily and get out the door faster.
Something I love that you mentioned to me was that your messaging helps reduce what you call FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. I think there's something so stressful to a lot of people about doing their taxes, so the idea that you're using personalization to reduce those stressors, I think is really meaningful.
Yeah, FUD is every day we're using that word somewhere.
Great. I'm going to start using that in a lot of areas of life. But let's bring this to life by looking at some of the programs that your team and you have created that address those challenges. So to kick us off, how are you building customer confidence?
So this example that you see on the screen is from our top of funnel team led by Sylvia. Half of our team is here in the audience today, so happy they could join us because this is all of their work as well. And our agency and other people from Movable Ink team as well. So this campaign specifically was, a lot of companies have their end of year recap, and so we don't really have an end of year happening in December. Taxes finish usually around April. So this campaign is really a year in review from the previous tax season. And I believe this was delivered maybe around November when customers are starting to think about next year's tax situation. And by us using Movable Ink, we can provide a lot of key data points to the customer to show them that, number one, we know what's important to them and what's important to their taxes. And then they can take simple actions to click through and start reviewing their taxes from the previous year to see what they may be able to change, what levers they can move to make their tax situation hopefully more optimized for this coming year. So this one was super successful. I believe it was 130 and 136 for our lift. Just for context, 130 responder rate is basically our click-through rate. But the next one is our D to A rate, which is delivered to auth. And that's really more important to us. It's, are they receiving our email? Are they engaging and clicking through? And then do they actually log into the system and authenticate and then start to work on their taxes? So very important for us.
I love that spin on using what would normally be a year in review to prompt customer actions. A big part of building customer confidence, like you said, is also reducing complexity and removing those barriers that make the process seem daunting. So how are you simplifying the customer experience using email?
So this example here is one of several emails that are using tiles that were built in Movable Ink. We have a lot of complex data from the customer, more for returning customers than new customers. And in this case, we use Movable Ink to build these tiles that help showcase to the customer what their recommended product is. So when you're starting your taxes, that's frustrating enough, and we're trying to reduce the weight that the customer has to focus on in choosing a product. Really, do you really want to have to think about what product should I choose for your taxes? So what we do here is pull a bunch of different data, pull it into Movable Ink with a different algorithm that was built in product, and we designed 3 different tiles, and one of them is the recommendation. And so what's great about this is it's personalized, it's hyper-personalized, and it gets them to take a simple action like select now and start your tax. We took that off the plate for them. I would say that this campaign, as much as this drives a lot of lift and engagement for us, it's one of our most complex, and it's the spot in the journey where a lot of our customers fall off. And so we have our amazing agencies working with us this year to hopefully revitalize this. We'll use the same data in Movable Ink, but it'll have a brand new look for next year.
Well, and we'll get into this a bit more, but you reuse some elements of this campaign across other parts of the journey. Yep. So it's also been a great efficiency play. The next program is really interesting because you mentioned that it's not only simplifying the process for customers, but it's also simplified the workflow on the TurboTax side. So talk to us about the next step dashboard.
This dashboard email came about when we kind of looked at Movable Ink and said, what can we do as an entire email with Movable Ink? And at first, our director was skeptical and probably looked at me and probably said, what are you thinking? But this is how it turned out. It's a single email that's deployed once a week to our customers. And we did a test this year at 10%. But for context, we have a lot of automations, and one of our automation series is called the WIP series, Work in Progress. And it's a series of 5 automations with 3 touch points. And we said, why can't we take all of that content, knowing where the customer is in their journey, and put it into one dashboard email with all dynamic pieces? This is what it resulted in. Like just the hero section, you can see it shows the customer specifically what they've done, what they have not done, how far they have to go, how many minutes or percentage of time they have left to go. We also show their refund amount. We round it down or round it up, how much they may owe as well. All of this is dynamic, including the did you know section, which is kind of a social proof. We were super excited about this piece because you could tell somebody they're from California and that 274,692,000 people, right, finished their taxes last week, which we thought was an exciting piece of social proof, until the legal team called, and it was too specific. So just a word of advice, it may be too specific. They didn't want our investors to be able to capture this email every week and build their own line chart to see how well or bad TurboTax was doing. So now we just say tens of thousands of people last week completed. Still works, still personalized.
You know, legal's always coming in to ruin the party.
Yeah.
So there's, but what I thought was so great about this is I think there's often a fear that if you reduce the number of touch points or consolidate communications, you're gonna see, you know, a reduction to your results. But what you've seen here is that you reduce the amount of work on your team, you've decluttered your customers' inboxes, but you're also increasing effectiveness through personalization. So
Yeah.
it's a great example.
The lift was great here as well. And I think it's one of our focus points next year is to iterate on this as well, have our agencies really deep dive into more of our data and figure out how we can personalize it more.
Awesome. Well, mobile outbound is a great channel for driving fast customer actions, driving a sense of urgency. You expanded your personalization strategies into mobile this past year. So tell us a little bit about how you're using mobile and email to accelerate the velocity of customer actions.
So a lot of people don't realize, but our mobile app is actually easier and simpler to file through the app than on a desktop. So the more and more we get into the mobile app and more development into it, the easier it's even going to be from there. And so every year our app has more adoption. It gets larger and larger, our audience base. This example is actually one of simplicity. So this whole basis was, can we show something personalized in a push notification that will get customers to quickly get back into the app and continue their taxes? When you finish your federal taxes, the next step is your state taxes. And with TurboTax, after you've finished, you're about 80% done on the way to finishing your state taxes. And so with that little amount left, we thought, let's just show an image of their state so that as long as the customer recognizes what their state looks like, we can get them back in. And so I don't know if we want to do a survey if you know what your state looks like, but these are at least two pretty recognizable, I think. And it worked well. You can see we had a 14% lift, which is great for our mobile app, and we're going to continue to iterate on that.
It's a pretty smart audience, so if we don't recognize our states, I think we've got some
so.
bigger problems. But you've also repurposed content across both email and mobile in your race mode program. So tell us a little bit about that.
Race mode has been around in TurboTax for about 3 years now, and every year it changes. It's basically the concept of we know how much you've done, we know how complex your taxes are, and we know how far you need to go. And so on the background, the product team built this amazing algorithm that shows to the customer what percentage they've completed or how many minutes they have left to finish. So, I mean, to open an email and say, wow, I've only got 12 minutes left to complete, you could finish that before dinner, you know, and get it off your plate. So it's been super successful in driving the response rate. You can see 81% and 136. We're super happy with that, although the product team calls us every year, usually about 2 weeks ago they called, and said, race mode is changing. So we're going to have to pivot again. We'll still work with Movable Link to figure out how does race mode work next season, but we will continue this process of that progress bar. And without revealing too much, I know our year-round program led by Anastasia, who's here, an amazing program, and I think they're going into more of a gamification experience where they're going to have a similar process with steps where you can check items off during the off-season and be more prepared for next tax season.
Amazing. Well, so Nick, let's dive into it. Tell us, what have been the keys or some of the keys to success to enable you to scale personalization so quickly?
So we're really tight-knit as a group. I think there's about 15 amazing CRM team members, another 15 ops members and data analysts. As a group, we share everything. We probably overshare. One of the great things that we do is something called Lunch and Learn. It's a great opportunity. It's a free lunch. We cater it on property, book a big conference room, and then we do a Lunch and Learn where we maybe see a new product. We look at Movable Link's newest features, and we test them out, and we showcase them. We also demonstrate or showcase from other companies, our competitors, or other industries that have great experiences. Like at Movable Link, we're seeing a lot of great stuff this week. And so it's a great time for us to just get together, have lunch, and actually experience it all together. That's a key one for us, is Lunch and Learn. We also have a lot of Slack channels where we'll be sharing things back and forth. I think we have one Slack channel just for fun. We'll share anything, including like our coworker Taylor and her amazing brownies. We share that on a Slack channel just for fun. And then finally, the app library, that's run by Karen, who's here as well, and did an amazing job putting this together for us and managing it. It's every item that's in Movable Ink for us, and it showcases everything about it. What the content was, what data sources we use, how it was used, how quickly we can get it to market. And so our team was able to access this from top of funnel to year round and take pieces of it and build something as quickly as possible.
Great to have that in one central place. You also have a great approach to annual planning that's helped you move quickly.
So this was taken 2 weeks ago at our annual, all-day festivals, if you want to call it a festival, because it's fun. We have a great time. All-day sessions. We meet with all of our creative partners, from our agencies to our vendors like Movable Ink and Braze and Stencil. We all get together and we brainstorm. What worked last season? We look at results. Did it work? Did it not work? What could we improve on it? And then we just brainstorm. Just throw out every idea possible and sit there and talk about it and digest it. And then at the end of a couple of days, we come home with a spreadsheet, a list of all these different products that we can, or ideas that we can turn into an email product for ourselves.
Well, this wouldn't be a Movable Ink conference if we didn't say modular content about 5 times. So how are you maximizing content and data to drive efficiency?
So this one was the example that you saw previously. Again, this is all modularized, and it's all coming from several data sources. But what's great about it is we built this for the post-auth team, and it was very successful. And then our top-of-funnel team comes to us and says, we'd like to repurpose this. And this can move quickly. They're using the same data set. It already exists in Braze. And so they can take the same content and then change the message for their audience in different use cases and get it out quickly throughout the door. And so here we had 3 pieces of content, all from the same data source, but the top-of-funnel team decided just to take part of it. And without having to reinvent the wheel, they were able to execute really quickly.
And then lastly, you've really optimized your org structure this past year to lend itself to a faster process. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's a faster process. Slightly outdated slide in the last 2 weeks since we submitted it.
Real-time update.
The org changed, right? So we started with the post-auth group, which is the team that I was on for the last 2 or 3 years. And then after we expanded, it went to all 5 pods that you can see, those 5 tiles next to each other. All of our teams work in collaboration. We use each other's programs, we use each other's content, and we learn from each other. What's great about the way we've organized everything is there's a bunch of other teams, from the solutions team to analytics to CRM, ops, and data activation, and they support all of the work that we're doing. And so everybody has the same knowledge set. The ops team can be working on post-auth one day, but then switch over and work on the top of funnel as well. So it's a really good organizational setup. And then, like I said, this changed where Karen and I will be moving on to a new kind of business unit called CRM Innovation, where we're actually going to work with Movable Ink and all of our other vendors to get our entire team using all of the technology tools so that everybody's at the same level and everybody can execute just as fast.
And then I think with just 2 minutes left, tax season 2024, not 2025, 2024, is upon us. Your team has to have everything ready to go by December 1st. So what's on the roadmap? Give us a little preview of what's to come this next tax season.
Turbotax is always expanding. There's always new stuff happening at Turbotax, new features. But the big focus this year is on experts. A lot of people think Turbotax is just a DIY platform, but we have one of the most expansive expert platforms. And so we're really going to energize that expert base. And show people that they can actually match with an expert that knows all about their tax situation, no matter what life changes they have. So Movable Ink is going to help us, especially with more of the complex data coming out of the expert system, to match customers all the way down to the zip code. So you can actually now this year potentially walk into a CPA in your zip code with a verified tax pro from TurboTax. So that's exciting for us. And the other big one is business taxes. So if anybody here has a small business or a side business, business taxes was launched last year. It's doing phenomenal. And so the data for that is really complex. So we're just moving forward with that as well. So we're looking forward to both of those.
Excited to work with you on both of those. Thanks, everybody, for joining. Thank you so much, Nick, for sharing all this work and best practices. If you want to connect with Nick and I on LinkedIn, you can scan our QR codes up here, or we'll be around, and feel free to find us after the session.
Thank you.